Dinosaurs, the big screen version of the internationally successful BBC series that taught younger viewers about the prehistoric creatures through state-of-the-art CGI recreations, is a film that is not so much bad, although it is quite bad, as it is utterly inexplicable. Instead of utilizing the same storytelling style that mesmerized viewers of all ages around the world via its captivating visual style backed by quietly effective narration from Kenneth Branagh, the makers have instead chosen to scuttle that approach for a more overtly cartoony take that makes the Ice Age saga feel practically documentary-like by comparison. This is a move that was no doubt devised to attract younger viewers, but even they are likely to feel put out by the childish nature of the material after a while. Right from the start, it is obvious that something is desperately wrong with the proceedings when the opening scenes contain no dinosaurs to speak of, but include plenty of Carl Urban as a paleontologist taking his niece and nephew on a trip for a dig in the wilds of Alaska, while the niece is all confused. The sullen teen nephew is more interested in his iPhone and his complicated pants and whatnot, but his interest is eventually sparked when a talking raven, John Leguizamo, arrives on the scene to transform into one of its ancestors, an Alexornus named Alex, and tell the kid an amazing dinosaur story. To say that this framing device, which inexplicably suggests that kids out there are not inherently interested in dinosaurs, is a mistake is an understatement for the ages. I promise you that there is not a single child out there who would rather watch Carl Urban yapping for several minutes instead of the dinosaurs that they were promised. Our hero, once the film finally gets down to business, is a Pachyrhinosaurus, helpfully known as Patchy, Justin Long, a quiet underdog who is the runt of his litter. Over the course of the next decade or so, he follows his tribe as they migrate south for the winter and return to the north during the springtime. Along the way, he falls in love with the fetching juniper. Tia Serco becomes involved in a battle of wills with older brother Skylar Stone, a hothead who takes control of the tribe and nearly leads them into disaster, and dodges the fearsome Gorgosaurus, a T-Rex-like creature with tiny arms that are the source of much merriment here. To help stretch the running time out, there are also plenty of poop and snot jokes and even a couple of musical montages featuring the hits of Barry White and Fleetwood Mac for good measure. As mystifying as this may all sound in print, it is nothing compared to watching it unfolding on the screen. From a visual standpoint, Walking with Dinosaurs is actually fairly striking for the most part thanks to the effective melding of the dinosaurs, which have all been designed in realistic terms without any visible sign of cartoonishness, and live-action backgrounds shot in Alaska and New Zealand. And yet, having spent such a considerable amount of time and effort to bring the period to life in as convincing a manner as possible, the filmmakers proceed to squander all that goodwill on a story that features lots of poop-related jokes and ill-advised wisecracks, via prehistoric dinosaurs talking about ninjas, all of which have been dubbed in such a lackadaisical manner that they don't even come close to matching the facial movements of the creatures delivered. The worst thing about Walking with Dinosaurs is that even though it has been handled about as badly as can be for reasons that I cannot begin to fathom, it will most likely do well at the box office during the holiday season because of the near-universal hold that dinosaurs have on the imaginations of the children who make up the majority of its target audience. Little kids will probably like it because it is bright and colorful, though far less so if you partake in the 3D version. And simple to grasp, but let's face it, one can say pretty much the exact same thing about the likes of the Smurfs too. For anyone over the age of 8 or so, it cannot help but come across as silly at best and downright condescending at worst, and towards the end, most of them may be silently rooting for a comet to arrive and put an end to the whole sorry spectacle. Walking with Dinosaurs is a film that should have been entertaining and informative in equal measure in theory, but in practice, basically 1 episode shy of a lesser Flintstones rerun. Back in 1993, what was astonishing in Jurassic Park were the special effects that seemed to bring dinosaurs back to life. 2 decades later, rediscovering Steven Spielberg's mastery of cinematic storytelling is the best reason to go see it again. It is back in theaters with the best 3D conversion I've seen, avoiding the cheesy remaster effect too often the result of retrofitted 3D. Other than a few shots where the foreground is blurred, the effects are immersive and organic, and the dinosaurs jumping to a few moments are sparing and effective. My favorite moment has always been when the characters in the Jeep are trying to outrace the charging T-Rex. All of a sudden, the dinosaurs coming at them fast and angry in the side view mirror. It takes a moment for the words to register. Objects in mirror are closer than they appear. Spielberg has found a way to make us laugh and ramp up the tension. And it is even more compelling in 3D. The film holds up remarkably well, other than the computers and walkie-talkies, which will seem to today's audiences almost as prehistoric as the Paleolithic creatures. But its then state-of-the-art special effects, a combination of mechanical creations and computer images, are still as believable as the high-techiest creatures on screen today. Spielberg has gone on to weightier and more prestigious projects, but this thrill ride is one of his best and a masterpiece of the genre. It shows his unparalleled gifts for pacing and for the visual language of movies, and his ability to make us invest in the characters. That is what makes all the special effects pack an emotional wallop. He conveys more with ripples in a glass of water than most filmmakers can with 15 pages of dialogue. The story, based on a book by the late Michael Crichton, begins with hubris, the sin of pride so great that a man places himself with the gods and thus sets the stage for his downfall. John Hammond, Richard Attenborough, dreams of extracting dino and plant DNA that has been trapped in amber and using it to reboot prehistoric species of flora and fauna. Spielberg grounds the story with a moral core that lets us enjoy the catastrophic destruction without any inconvenient pangs of conscience. Spielberg also makes sure we have someone to root for, lining up our loyalties with characters we can both identify with and admire. Laura Dern and Sam Neill play experts in Paleolithic animals and plants who are, 1. interested in science, not money, and 2. in love. That's all we need to know. But just to make sure, he adds in a few children, who not only get our protective instincts going but give Neill's character a chance to grow. Go to see Jurassic Park in 3D. Go to take your kids who were not born when it was released. Go to see it the way it should be seen, on a big screen in a theater filled with happily terrified fans. Go to see Samuel L. Jackson before he was Samuel L. Jackson, but most of all, go for the delight of watching pure Spielberg movie magic.